I welcome you all to this webinar. Respected Chief Guest DGN Asha Venugopal, Dr. Abha, President of DAGMIHI, Dr. Pratiksha, Secretary of the DAGMHI, Rotarian Kavita Bhalerao, President of Nasik Cosmopolitan, President Anil Grape City, and our distinguished speakers for today's seminar, Rita Agarwal ma'am and Kavita Saraf ma'am, fellow Rotarians and all those who have joined this webinar. We have distinguished guests from other districts also, President Advocate Rashmi Verma from Cochin East. Then we have President Anand from Rotary Club of Amravati Midtown. All the distinguished guests, Rotarians, fellow Rotarians, and who have joined for this seminar, I welcome you all on behalf of Rotary Club of Nasik Grape City. We have been having this seminar on and off on how to handle the stress and this mental health issues. So before we begin, our chief guest would like to address. So I request Rotarian Renu Panikar to introduce our chief guest.
Good evening all. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our chief guest, DGN, the First Lady Governor of RID 3030, Rotarian Asha Venugopal. Rotary Club of Nasik Grape City is proud to have given the district such a strong and benevolent leader who is an epitome of service above self. I have always got a chance to learn and to be groomed by her, which I hold close to my heart. She is a commerce graduate from Mumbai University with her postgraduate diploma in business management studies and diploma in journalism. She is a joint director of Zenith Group of Companies. A level 2 major donor and benefactor, Rotarian Asha is a member of the Paul Harris Society. She is a faculty in the Rotary Leadership Institute. A strong believer of karma, she has proven the Rotary motto of service above self with her service to the society and mankind in all avenues of Rotary from the year 2010. She has ventured into Reiki, Karuna, and magnified healing with her inclination spiritually, and through the module of Mind Power Unleashed, she conducts training for realizing the strength of our mind and how fruitfully we can use it. With this, I open this platform for her to address the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Renu, for the introduction. And I would like to thank the group for giving me this opportunity to be here and to address all of you. Actually, just before the meeting started, we were just talking about anger and what is assertive anger. I am also here just to learn about that and to know what it is. Because if you see me as a person, I don't lose my temper very often, but when I do, then it is bad. So I think I have to learn how to arrest that. Basically, like I said, in these days, when all of us are cooped up at home and we are not moving around much, there's a lot of frustration that is setting in, because of which there's a lot of intolerance. We're not ready to tolerate, or there is no tolerance in any of us left. Somewhere we are so frustrated, we just want to break the shackles and get out. So I will not speak anymore, and I will open the platform for our speakers today to enlighten us as to what we can do as far as our temper, or the times that we're living in, how to make it better. Thank you once again for inviting me, and thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Asha. Now I request our President, Dr. Anil Deshmukh, to introduce Rita Madam, our first guest speaker.
Good evening, friends. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes.
I thanks to the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to introduce today's speaker, and it's my immense pleasure to. Our today's speaker, Rita Agarwal, is a senior consultant psychologist at Nagpur since 1992. She is columnist in the English daily newspaper, The Hitwada, of a popular column, Emotions. She is a HRD trainer for industry as well. In Rotary, she is the district chair for Rotary Action Group. She is also a charter member and director of Global Mental Health Initiatives. She is editing Mind Matters, a monthly newsletter on mental health circulated by the District Action through District 3030. For 3 years, she was director from India on a project on women entrepreneurs funded by United States Department of State and run by the Indus Entrepreneurs. This is the short introduction of today's dynamic speaker, Rita Agarwal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I start?
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So a very good evening. Today's chief guest, District Governor nominee Asha Venugopal. A hearty congratulations to you for being the first Lady Governor of 3030. We are very proud of you. A very good evening to the distinguished gathering here. President Anil Deshmukh, thank you for your lovely introduction. President of District Action Group on Mental Health Initiatives, Dr. Abha Pimplikar. Board of Directors of District Action Group, Murli ji is there, Pankaj Agarwal is there, I think Devang is there, and the others, Dr. Smita Handodkar is there. And of course, thank you to the 2 organizing clubs, Rotary Club of Nashik, Grape City, and Rotary Club of Nashik, Cosmopolitan. And of course, my co-speaker, Kavita Saraf. So, assertive anger. We will be sharing the topic. I will be speaking on a little bit on the theoretical part of what causes anger, what is anger, and then Kavita will take over from where I stop. So, there are a million reasons to be angry. Like Asha ji said, we live in troubled times, COVID times, the pandemic is on, and people are cooped up in their homes. They are frustrated and they are angry. And we have become intolerant. But let's take a wider picture. And let me start with a little story which I read recently. There was this man who was sailing in his boat in a very serene, peaceful lake. And he was very happy with himself. He was by himself, all alone. And he wanted that peace of mind and that loneliness to just, that solitude which he was enjoying. And suddenly, something hits his boat from behind. Maybe you have heard the story, it may be a popular one. Something hits him from behind and he gets irritated and he gets angry. So he gets up and turns his face to the back of the boat and starts shouting. That's his first instant reaction. Within 5 seconds, he realizes there's nobody there. There was nobody, there was an empty boat which hit his boat. And that was a stray boat on the same lake, which must have just strayed away by the wind and which hit him very hard. So he started laughing and he sat down and he wanted to look within and find out why was he angry? Why did he shout? It was just an empty boat. There was nobody there. And that made him thinking that maybe there is a lot of anger inside me, which just came out. With the slightest of provocation, that anger came up. These are called, my dear friends, in psychology, we call them the intrapsychic factors. Intrapsychic factors are those factors which are within your own mind, within your own psyche, within your own psychology, within your own personality, and they are quite deep-rooted. Most factors are conscious and many factors are unconscious as well, which we are not aware of. So becoming aware of the conscious factors and becoming aware of the unconscious factors is the important part in anger management, or at least understanding anger. But what are these intrapsychic factors? So we have expectations, we have desires, we have needs, and most of them may not be met. So we have unmet needs, unmet emotional needs, unmet material needs. We have frustrations, we have obstacles in life. Nothing is smooth. Many times anger is a response to losses. And the loss need not be just material. Besides material losses, there is a loss to self-esteem. There is a loss to your self-respect, to your status, to your prestige, to your power, which makes people angry. There is rejection, there is humiliation. All these factors are within your own mind. They are intrapsychic. Besides these intrapsychic factors, there are certain values, principles, and beliefs which we hold very dear to our life, and on the basis of which we run our life. Let's take a value which today the youngsters talk about is freedom, independence, privacy, don't interfere. If I have certain values, principles, and belief systems which people will obstruct, again, it's an obstruction. So you are not able to fulfill them. There will be a lot of anger. If you take a larger picture, the independence movement, the struggle for independence in India was a fight for freedom, was a fight for justice. The Mahabharata war was also a fight for justice. It was a war of righteousness. And it took Indians 200 years to actually feel angry against the exploitation and victimization by the British and gather together into a mass movement and a revolution to overthrow the Britishers. How powerful the emotion of anger can be. Emotion is an extremely powerful emotion. But if we put it to constructive use, we can win the war of independence if we put it to constructive use. And if we put it to destructive use, we can become like a terrorist. We can blow up the Twin Towers of United States of America and still feel happy about it. So what sort of a mind do human beings cultivate? It can go constructive, it can go destructive. It's up to you. So besides now, the values, beliefs, and the principles that we hold very dear to our heart, and we don't like them to be challenged by the others, there are some memories, deep-rooted memories, fresh memories, which could have happened in childhood, or it could have happened in teenager or adulthood also, of trauma and abuse. Let me tell you the story of a young girl who was first year college going. She started misbehaving at home. She would shout at her cousins, she would shout at her mother, she would shout at her father, at all her relatives. And it was a large joint family in Nagpur. They are still there. And she started misbehaving. And her mother brought her to me and said, something has gone wrong with this girl, please find out. I spent 1 year with the girl. She would come to my clinic, just do very sweet talk with me, tell me nothing about her mind and go back. One day I said, what should I do with this girl? So we normally have a technique where we can do a semi-hypnotic trance, put the person into a semi-hypnotic state of mind. So I took her permission. I said, I'll induce some sleep in you and then we'll see what comes out. She said, all right. And what came out, actually that trick worked, because what came out was abuse. And she was safe, but it was an assault. It was an attempted abuse by her own cousin brother, who lived in the same house on the top floor, who tried to attack her when she was alone in the house. And it made her so nervous and fearful, and she was so shocked. And that is the time when she started shouting and screaming at her relatives. And she would not attend any function. She would refuse to go to any ceremony. And she told her mother, "Don't talk about my relatives. I don't want to meet anybody." We are all adults and grown up, but we have children at home. We have grandchildren at home. We must be aware that when a child shows extreme signs of anger and distress, something is bothering the child. There is an assault, there is an abuse, there is some trauma which we have to take care of. And it's sometimes children don't talk. There was this boy from standard 8 who was poor in mathematics, and his teacher abused him. She took his maths copy where the homework was incomplete. She threw the copy on the floor in front of the entire class and said some horrible statements to the child. She said, "तुम धरती पे बोझ हो, तुम माँ बाप पे बोझ हो, तुम लाइफ में कुछ नहीं करोगे, तुम निकम्मे रहोगे, तेरा कुछ नहीं होगा." He stopped going to school. He shut his mind. He didn't tell his mother anything. He stopped. He said, "मैं school नहीं जाऊंगा." He locked himself in his bedroom. For 1 month, he didn't go to school. Then his mother said, "We have to take him and show him to a counselor." So they brought him. After long provoking, we found he had a lot of anger issues with the teacher. He had a lot of humiliation, a lot of rejection, a sense of poor self-esteem. And after all that, we follow a certain procedure. He said, "All right, I will go to school and face the teacher." So we have to be very careful with children. Don't ignore their emotions. And the funny part about anger is anger can mask other emotions. Anger is a mask for sorrow. Anger is a mask for insult. Anger is a mask for anxiety. Let me give you a simple example which happens every day in the house. You tell your teenage son who's going out, "When will you come back?" He says, 6 बजे तक आ जाऊंगा. ठीक है, पक्का 6 बजे तक आ जाना. 8 बज गए, बच्चा घर नहीं आया, मोबाइल उठा नहीं रहा है, कम्युनिकेशन हो नहीं रही है. आप मदर हैं, आप फादर हैं, आप एल्डर ब्रदर हैं, एल्डर सिस्टर हैं. आपके साथ क्या हो रहा है? आपकी एंजाइटी बढ़ रही है, आपकी चिंता बढ़ रही है. ठीक तो है, कुछ हो तो नहीं गया, फोन क्यों नहीं उठा रहा है, जवाब क्यों नहीं दे रहा है, 6 बजे बोला था, 8 बज गया. So what is the emotion? The emotion is anxiety. But when he comes home and you open the door, what do? Shout. आप जोर से चिल्लाते हैं, लगे तो एक थप्पड़ भी लगा देते हैं. So what do you show? You show anger. If you want to show anxiety, all you have to say is, "Thank God you're back, I was worried." But you don't do that. So anger comes out in various ways, whereas the underlying emotion could be anything. It could, many times anxiety comes out. Now there is another point is there is a very deep connection between depression and anger. You'll be surprised. When we see children driving very fast cars, rash driving, motorcycle, cycling, and then accidents occur, I wouldn't be surprised if the child was in depression. So depression comes out as aggression. And aggression could be part of depression. So many times depression is known as inverted anger, ulta. It's called inverted anger. And many times a child could be angry deep within, but it can take the form of depression. So they are very highly correlated with each other. So besides all these intrapsychic factors, which are conscious, unconscious, on a daily basis, we have a lot of external events which could act as daily hassles, like your maid has not come, or there is a very horrible neighbor who always parks his car in the wrong way to trouble you when you are taking out your car, or you have a nagging spouse, or you have an alcoholic at home, or you have a mental patient at home. So these are daily events which could be irritating to you and which could cause a lot of anger to you. Besides that, besides the daily hassles, then there could be certain major events like an accident, or like COVID, the pandemic situation, or the tsunami, the external, there's too much of rain and it's disrupting life. So there are natural events. So there are, as I said, a million reasons which can cause anger to you. Kavita ji, can you start sharing the slide, please? Now, what does anger do to your body? We have all heard of the stress response. The stress response is where the neurotransmitters start working over time, and hormones, stress hormones are released. Take it further, please. Take it further. I've crossed this. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. So the stress hormones, yeah, this is now the effects of anger on your body. Lots and lots of studies, and I'm sure you're aware of them, how stress hormones can affect your body and make you fall sick. And we say stress is a silent killer. This is something which I experienced in my personal life during COVID times. Because we suppress the anger, we don't express it. And because we suppress it, it goes into our system. It goes into our body. It goes into our muscles. It goes into our rising of blood pressure, the heart rate, the dilation of pupils. A lot of blood flows to your muscles because your muscles prepare themselves for aggression. And if you don't control it in the long run, a little bit of anger for a small little bit of time is not going to damage your body. Our bodies, the human body is very rough and tough. It has to take a real beating for it to develop into a disease. So if your body actually shows up a disease, it means that there has been an imbalance. There has been a lack of equilibrium or a lack of harmony in your body and in your mind for quite some time. Yeah, yes, Kavita, next slide, please. So how the cortisol works. We all have heard of the flight and fight response. Those who have done management theories would know this very well. You either fight or you run away. If you fall into a threatening situation, supposing you were sitting peaceful and a wild animal comes into your house, what would you do? You would either get up and run. You won't be able to fight it, of course, because it's too large for you. But this is what we react to threat. And both these reactions in civilization, because see, these responses are built by nature, built by God for the animal kingdom. And we are part of the animal kingdom. But we have started living in a civilization and we have created something artificial for ourselves. So we don't live like nature. We don't live as part of nature. So in civilization, both these responses become abnormal. And both these responses become damaging to your mind and to your body. There are three responses you can see on one side: flight, freeze, and fight. All three are negative. So what is the positive response? In psychology, these three responses, the two negative responses are known as, the flight response is known as the passive response. The fight response is known as the aggressive response. And what are we talking about? We are talking about assertive response. And that will be done by Kavita ji. So I will stop my presentation now and hand over the podium to her. Over to you, Kavita. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita ma'am. Before we proceed further, I acknowledge the presence of Rotarian PAG Shamim from Bangladesh, District 3282. We have President Madhav Kukre, IPP, Rotary Club of Nagpur Fort. Then we have President Amita from Canada Corner. I acknowledge all your presence. And I now request President Kavita from the Rotary Club of Nasik Cosmopolitan to introduce our second guest speaker, Kavita Saraf.
Thank you, Anjali ma'am. Thank you. A very good evening, everyone, and welcome everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our very talented speaker, Kavita Saraf ma'am. Ma'am is a life coach, a soft skills trainer, and art therapist. She has done her post-graduation in psychotherapy and counseling. She has done various courses on mind training and life skills. By profession, she is a commercial artist and she has researched extensively on art as a therapy and done courses to integrate art and psychology. She has a lot of work experience and is a pan-India registered trainee with ICAI, that is Institute of Chartered Accountants, India. Also OTA, Officers Training Academy, Camp C. She has been freelancing since 6 years with schools, colleges, individuals, corporates, and institutions as well. Her areas of expertise are intrapersonal and interpersonal skills, emotional and mental health issues, parental and adolescent guidance, spiritual and life coaching, lifestyle shifts and transformation, grief and crisis management, spiritual and life coaching, learning and soft skill training. Her uniqueness is she uses creative skills, playway method, and different therapies along with a lot of customization supported with a lot of research and identifying individual needs to bring the client to a balanced state and thrive for personal development and growth too in all aspects of their life. She believes in prevention is better than cure and she practices what she preaches. So I welcome you, ma'am, and podium is all yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kavita ji, for such a wonderful introduction. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. What a attentive audience and participants, I must say. I wasn't hoping for such a great turnout, but I'm so honored and I'm more excited seeing the turnout that everybody is ready to look into and understand anger management. So not taking too much of your time, I'm hoping that everybody is ready to do some interaction as well. Kindly give me a thumbs up as we'll be on mute. A little interaction that we would have is through the chat box. And later, last 15 minutes, we would open up for open interaction and question and answer. So yes, hope everybody has got some papers with them and colorful pens. Since I'm more into art and I feel visual art is one of the wonderful tools for you to manage any kind of internal issues. We would be doing few activities through that. So please get your pens and papers near your desk.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you wipe out the previous slides? Those are still displayed.
Yes, I'm just going to the slideshow. Is this okay now?
Yes, okay.
Yes, fine. Moving on. Wonderful stories shared by Rita ji. And yes, wherever we analyze those stories, there was some fight or flight mechanism that was triggered in all of those stories. Yes, moving on, a lot of curiosity was there around this topic. And we are so glad that people are curious to know what is assertive anger. So we have just, to understand the expressions, we've used these emojis. Aggressive anger, as you can see, it is more of yelling. It is more outwardly. So it usually goes on the fight side. Passive, which is more the flight kinds, passive anger, which you store it inside within your body, which damages you if you hold it for too long. And assertive anger, which is in between. It is not extremely outwardly yelling or not holding it in. We are going to go further and understand this. Yes, behavioral reactions when aggressive anger is there. This is just for you to make a note. You can make a note as well. You feel threatened, you feel hurtful, you feel destructive, you feel like bullying also and letting somebody down, blaming somebody, you feel out of control, you feel you are superior. It is a selfish act. It is revengeful at times, and it is very unpredictable. People who are aggressive, people are usually scared of them, and they turn out very unpredictable. Just these symptoms, if you remember, they're all reactions which are very, very unconscious. And when we are going to learn a few techniques, how to turn your reaction into healthy responses. Response is usually when you consciously shift your reactions and manage them at a particular point and convert them into response. This is passive anger. The symptoms or the behavioral and the mental symptoms can be seen as they're secretive. You don't know what is happening within them. They're manipulative. They can be self-blaming. They can be self-sacrificing, letting go of their issues or not addressing them. They're not involved and dispassionate in their life. They may be evasive, ineffectual. They have the mindset of poor me. They may sulk a lot more, like muh bana ke baithe hain kone mein, that we say usually, that kind of an approach, and they get disappointed. So they feel very heartless kind. So usually just to diagnose or to understand, even for you to understand yourself, where are you coming from, you can understand your way of expression is aggressive or passive. I just want to tell you here, we all are very conscious. It's a close circle. We are not going to judge anybody as we interact. It is more of a self-development and skill-building workshop. So more you become aware, the better you will be able to manage your anger and manage people around you who are angry with you as well. Assertive anger. Now we're going to learn how we go about managing assertive anger, but usually they show up in terms of actually their response because it's a conscious effort. Nobody usually is assertive. Assertiveness is a skill which you need practice. So it is direct, it is honorable, it is focused, it is persistent. It usually is a courageous move to speak for yourself assertively. You are passionate and you want to preserve your relationships. There are different creative ways that you manage your anger. You're more forgiving, you're more relaxed, you're not edgy, and you're more open to communicating. So these are basic symptoms which you can maybe note down and start practicing here on to be more assertive with your anger. See, anger as an emotion is completely valid, but how you express them needs a little bit of training and skill building. That you're going to express your anger in a healthy fashion. The other two, the prior two, were very, very unhealthy ways which can affect your body or your relationships. So moving on. Yeah, coming down, as we identify the types of anger, we are now going to have steps to manage anger. These are the three very simple steps that I have identified. Understand yourself and recognize the onset. See, the person who is angry with you, you cannot control them, but you're going to manage them and manage your behavior so that you are not affected by that. Avoid the outbursts and manage the intensity. When the onset is there, when you realize at the very core that mera gussa ana chalu ho gaya hai, and when you are aware of it, that is the initial point. And when you absolutely, like a volcano, there is an outburst like a lava, You don't need to reach that extreme level of anger, then it is quite unmanageable. So when you can tap into your anger rising in the middle and manage it, that's when you can gain more control and balanced way of managing assertive anger. So that's why we have these following steps. You can make a note of it again. Avoid the outburst. So going to the extreme level is avoidable. You can manage the intensity of the anger. We'll show you the ways to do that as well. Identify the root cause. Later, you may identify the root cause, as Rita ji had shared a few examples that they identified the root cause of the issue, which is anger, is camouflaged by so many other emotions, and deal with the issue. The core issue needs to be addressed. It need not be addressed at that particular point, but later when you sit back with yourself, and as the boat person was reflecting, that's how you need to sit with yourself. And if you are disappointed with yourself that why did I lash out or why did I hold back, you may just reflect upon the issues and you may come across a part of you which is triggering that. So we will have these 3 steps and we will elaborate on each of them. Okay, the first one, understand yourself and recognize the onset. See, again, intrapersonal skills and interpersonal. So interpersonal skills are basically the skills that are required for you when you are with somebody else, when you are interacting. But this is interpersonal skill, intrapersonal. I'm so sorry. I'm getting confused myself. So this is intrapersonal, wherein this skill you need to manage yourself. There is no external source that you need or require to manage. So anger management is a personal issue and which has to be managed by your own self. So when you look within, what are the physical symptoms? For example, when my onset is there, I usually feel muscular spasm or tense muscles. So maybe you can look into when and identify those physical symptoms. Observe the psychological symptoms as well. For example, you can't think clearly, or you are having a lot of fog in your mind wherein you're not able to think and focus. You're getting irritated very often. Those are the onset symptoms which you can identify physically and psychologically. Become aware of the trigger. Usually, anger is there within you, which is stored unconsciously. And when a trigger from outside, like when you poke a balloon, it will burst. The air is there like the anger stored. And like when the toothpick is like a trigger. So when the toothpick touches the balloon, obviously it will explode. So the triggers are in the form of situation, people, events. It could be anything. So you need to become aware of your trigger. For example, for me, I have identified my triggers as well. Like at one point when I get angry, especially with my maid, it comes from a egocentric, when she is not ready to accept her mistake, or I am expecting something out of her, which she becomes very adamant. Similarly, you can identify your triggers. With your child, you may have different triggers. With your spouses, you may have different triggers. So when you identify that particular point, when they actually say something which is your mother does not do it, so you don't have it. So whenever they pinpoint something which is very close to you or which is very hurtful, those are the triggers that you need to identify. More for this, there is an anger thermometer. Now I use a lot of these art playway methods. So can you see the anger thermometer, everyone? Can you give me a thumbs up?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So if you have pen and a paper, I want you to roughly make, again, this is not something that you would make artistically, but agar aap chahte hain, because I'm going to give you 2 or 3 tools which you can keep it with you to measure your emotions. The difficult part of this is our emotions are not measurable. We can't identify that. For example, when we have fever, we can understand that the onset is 99. Now I am having this basic fever. When it rises beyond 2, I need to put cold packs or something like that to manage it. And if it crosses a level, there is an emergency situation. Similarly, if we track our anger through this anger thermometer, which is a very practical tool, you can make this and paste it on one of your cupboards or maybe your desk where you can see it. So I would give you 5 minutes. I want you to make a basic structure. It may be with a scale or something. What I look like. These are just clues given, but it can be very, very customized. Customized as in you don't need to show it to me, but what happens, I've just given you 10 points. And as the color is, the shade is changing, so is your anger increasing. So I would give you these 5 minutes to make a small, simple anger thermometer with you. In that, you can write down your personal issue. On one side, it is what I look like, and on the other side, what I can do about it, right? And when it crosses the color, which we try to manage it. So we will go to the next one, how to manage it. But first we will try and make this anger thermometer. So I'm waiting for 5 minutes. You can make it, or you can scribble it, or you can just jot down these points.
I think they must have done it by now, Kavita.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Moving on. Effective steps to manage anger. The second point was avoid the outburst and manage the intensity. So avoid the outburst. When you are reaching a particular thing, try to take a conscious short break. For example, when you are in the middle of fight or argument or anything of that sort, try consciously to take a break for sipping water, taking a loo break. Very, very conscious effort, so that, like a lot of times people use numbers like count 1 to 10 and the intensity would drop. So this is like, there can be various other methods that you can devise for yourself. These are few of my suggestions. Taking a short break. If you have a call coming at that point of time, and at that point consciously you pick up that phone, you will see your intensity would drop. So that is one thing I actually practice myself, wherein or either consciously say, I am taking downtime, I'll just be back in 2 minutes. So that is just to break it in between. And when you resume, automatically your intensity would have dropped. Start regulating your breath. Usually our balance of mind and our breath is connected. It is a very, so whenever you see that you're angry, usually your breath are a little shorter. So when you want to regulate your intensity and you are aggressive or passive, you have to regulate and try to regulate your breath. Usually meditation people do for this, but I'm talking about when you're right in the middle of the onset and you have reached a particular point. If somebody would ask you to meditate, it would be very, very difficult. So just to get your breath to a regular level would help you manage your anger intensity. Try to change the perception. A lot of times you may see the anger is even caused due to misunderstanding. A lot of times. Do you agree? Give me a thumbs up. A lot of times, not that the other person is wanting to do something wrong to you. Maybe they're not able to communicate properly. Maybe you're not able to understand their point of view. Maybe you've not heard them correctly. Maybe the third person has not communicated what you expected them to know. So there is a lot of lag in communication when you expect certain things to happen and they don't happen. So try to change the perception is one more suggestion that I would like to give you. Shift the self-talk. That is the last one, and use affirmations. Now, what are affirmations? Basically, affirmations are those short statements that we use to train our mind to think a certain way. They won't start initially, but through conscious effort, it will gradually seep into the unconscious. So I have these few affirmations which are in present. There is a way to make it is a short statement. It is in the present moment. And so these are a few affirmations that I have made, and you can note down as well. Hope, like, I manage the anger. Again, anger is a part of me. So anger is not me. So when even you detach yourself with the emotion, that the emotion is a part of me, it's not the whole of me. So I manage the anger. When you start seeing anger in terms of third person, it will help you manage better. You feel in control of the situation. So I manage the anger. I shift the anger to disappointment. Yes, I'm angry, but it is when the degree has to be reduced. It is how you talk to yourself matters. Like if you tell yourself that I'm angry and I'm fuming and I can't take it anymore, this is how your body is going to react and charge you up. And all the hormones are getting ready for the fight system to be triggered. And when you calm down, when your cells are listening to you, all the hormones, when you shift, I am disappointed. I'm not that angry. I'm really disappointed. Automatically, the intensity goes down. So it is what you tell yourself really matters. So you can change your inner dialogue. You can shift and look into your inner dialogue, what you tell yourself at that particular moment. I consciously shift from reaction to response. What is the difference? When we create a space between what we feel and how we respond to that, that is when the response happens. And when there is no space between what we feel and how we express it, it is reaction. So reaction is very, very unconscious, and you may regret after reacting a certain way. However, response is a very conscious and very aware decision that you take, that I need to express this and assert myself in this manner. So I consciously shift from reaction to response. You can always tell yourself these 4 affirmations you can write down on your piece of paper. The other one is the anger is unhealthy for me. Again, the anger, not my anger, because anger is a part of me. When you start seeing anger as a third person and it is happening to me, you can very well control it and manage it. So it is unhealthy. You may affect other people, but the first and foremost thing is it will be unhealthy for you. The rush of adrenaline rush or the cortisol start moving in a particular direction for you to be prepared. You will be on alert mode. You will be hyper vigilant. So that gives you a lot of anxiety in itself. So it is unhealthy for your body to go through so much of stress. So you can make these affirmations and shift the self-talk. You can have your own different ways also. These are few of my suggestions. Yes. Effective steps to manage anger. Now, after your intensity has reduced and you come to a particular state, you need to identify, sit with yourself and reflect on the root cause and deal with the issue. If the issues are not dealt with properly, you are going to have a rebound. As in every time that trigger comes, you will have certain kind of anger getting triggered and you reacting instead of responding. First and foremost, owning up. Yes, accepting this, I have this issue. Sometimes to confront your own issues are very, very challenging. Hope you agree to this. Even I have struggled, and every one of us have struggled with anger issues at some point or the other. So first and foremost, giving into that, yes, this is my issue, and I acknowledge it that, yes, I'm struggling with this, is the first step. Once you become aware and accept it, you can move through it. Focusing on what you can control. Most of the time, our time and energy goes in focusing on those things which we can't control. And there is more frustration and irritation added to it, like fuel to fire. For example, so I will have a small activity again for you, which is in the form of control chart. For example, the pandemic, can we control it? Yes, to a certain degree we can, but why did it happen? We cannot. So what do we focus on? What can I control? Put on a mask, keep 2 feet distance. So rather than focusing and cursing, why did it happen? And who is responsible for this? Yes, it has happened and we are all in it together. What can I do which is in my control? If we shift the focus to things on which I can control, things would be a lot more easier. Seek help and therapy and follow through. Seek help, you can talk to your friend, you can talk to your family member if you feel comfortable. You can ask for some help that I'm struggling with this and I don't know. It is okay to own up and ask for help. And going for therapy as well. If you think that it is affecting beyond one level, you can go for therapies. There is a lot of stigma around mental health and therapists, but these days, a lot of people after the pandemic, the need of therapies have increased quite a bit. So you can go to a therapist, and most important is the follow up with them. Make changes in your belief patterns and practice them. So yes, easier said than done. Sometimes you believe a certain thing and that triggers a lot of anger within you. So you need to question your beliefs. Are they rational? Are they valid? Are they universally true? If you question your beliefs, sometimes you believe in a certain thing and that's how you believe. And if anything goes against the belief, you are triggered with anger. Even your patterns, you can look into them and ask for help to change them. You can seek therapy for that because that gets into a little more of deeper work. Now coming down to the control chart, we have a little activity for you. Since you have a pen and a paper, I want you to write down few, you need not share it with us. It is for your awareness, what I can control and what I can't control. I will give you the prompts. For example, you can just make these 2 circles and then I will go ahead with the prompts. For example, my behavior, where will it come?
What I can control.
Yes. Rita G's behavior.
What I can't control.
Yes. Wonderful. So I'm going to give you prompts like this. You just need to fill it in. Maybe even you can share a few of your understanding what you can control and what you can't control in the chat box. For example, the weather outside.
Can't control.
I can't control it. The weather in my room, the AC, the fan, the atmosphere in my room.
I can control.
Yes. So when we start discerning or making this difference and understanding, my child's behavior, child's behavior.
Hello.
Yes. I cannot control my child's behavior, but my response or reaction to it, can I control? Yes, I can. So these little differences, when we understand, we can help ourselves better and we can help others also. So similar is the control chart. Would you like to share on the chat box what you can control? One prompt, everybody. What you can control, what you can't control. People loving me, can I control? People loving me.
No.
No, I cannot control. But I loving somebody or I liking somebody, can I control that?
Yes.
Yes, very simple. So lot of struggle will drop when you just accept what I can control. Yes, can control Murliji's my behavior. Yes. So we have lot of, I can control myself, my activities, can't control others' behavior. So true. So I would like to see more of your understanding what you can control and what you can't control. Can control my response. Things I can't change. Yes. Demonetization happening in the country. Can I control? Yes, that's a deeper awareness is a statement I speak. So who chooses to say that is responsible to love? Yes. So, but just to even understand, a lot of people have one-sided feelings wherein I give in so much to this relationship, but the other person does not give in, you know, so just the little awareness is good enough. So demonetization, can we, were we able to control? No, but how we manage our funds?
Yes, that we can control.
Yes, that we can control. So even a lot of times we get angry with those things which we cannot control. So it is such a waste of time and energy when you focus and you get angry on something you cannot control. Like my maid not coming today. My thoughts and emotions I can. For example, even my maid not coming today. I cannot control it. I can maximum give her a call and say, you committed, why didn't you come? But how I manage my day without the maid, can I manage that? Is in my control. How many things that are not required, I may not do it today. I may postpone it for tomorrow and yet not let her absence affect my day. That I can control. Can't control others, but with my understanding, we may manage better. Yes, yes. So that's what your response instead of reaction to their behavior can be managed. Wonderful. Any more shares? Just a little awareness. Everybody is becoming more aware. I can see what we can control, what we can't control. Like, for example, when I felt that my Wi-Fi and my internet services have some glitches and today it may not be stable. So that was absolutely, it was a common Wi-Fi which I couldn't control. So immediately I happened to take charge and I bought some this thing on Jio Wi-Fi so that I have it on my, if the light goes off also, I have it with me. So that's how I took charge rather than getting frustrated that the lights went off. So even the little awareness can help. Own expectation, can others, own expectation, can others' expectation count? True. My own expectations I can manage. And if I'm disappointed, also I need to manage. But others' expectation, yes, they expected you a certain way. So when you know, yes, you would care, not unnecessarily get into guilt also that, okay, they expect me to do so and so. Their expectation is their responsibility. Maybe they expected a lot of you and they didn't know what your commitments are for today. So yes, we can control by smile only many things. So true. Yes. Smile is a wonderful tool. Again, we can add it to this. When you smile, immediately the anger vanishes or you convert it into humor. that is also a wonderful tool. I have tried that with my husband too. I'm just sharing this personal with you, whenever we used to have this funny, difficult conversation, and I think that it might get into a fight. I will just pray that if his important phone call comes, it will be a very good help to me. And the phone comes, and when he's on the phone, I make a funny face and run away from there. I escape. I have that flight and fight mode. So I take a flight, and when he's in a balanced state, I would confront him. So I have devised my own funny ways of managing anger around also. I just smile at him and say sorry. The next one, on realizing when stouts the differences. I'm sorry, I'm not able to get this. I just smile at him and see, being sorry, again, being very humble in today's day, a lot of people and even us are driven by ego. And when the whole relationship is affected by anger, there is a huge role of ego being played. When we smile, we let down our mind and we are getting more heart-centered. So yes, smiling or saying sorry or being humble or owning up will automatically dissolve the anger for sure, and the intensity would drop. But there are a lot of times when it is triggered by ego, it is triggered by grumpiness, it is not received by smile or not converted into humor or not taken it with a pinch of salt. That's when the anger is at a rise and it affects both the people. So certainly, yes, we found new methods which I have not included as we interact. Smiling and owning up, saying sorry are two very, very easy ways to dissolve anger and manage. Certainly, I agree to that. Okay, moving on, I think we have last 10 to 15 minutes and we can open up the session for Q&A. This brings me to the end of this presentation. Yes. Me and Rita ji want to thank you. You've been a wonderful audience and hope few of the tips and shares would help you manage your anger better. Anger is a sign that something needs to change. Mark Espenstein.
Thank you, Rita ma'am.
Yes.
Now I open the floor for question answers and I request Abha to please moderate it. Anyone who has got questions or queries, put in a chat box so that she can we can get the answers.
I have received one query few days ago itself. The person wanted me to address the anger in housewives. So what I could relate is in old times or in ancient times, there was a concept of Krodhagar, especially in Ramayana, where Queen Kaikeyi goes in that particular room. But now during the pandemic, we have been confined in the house. So I feel the house maker or the lady of the house, she has to control her anger, her emotions, her responses. But I feel it is the responsibility of the family members also to help her to some extent. But in nutshell, any one of you, Rita ma'am or Kavita ma'am, how will you address this anger management in housewives?
See, I have a very strong opinion on this, and that is anger perpetuates itself. Let me tell you the story of a little boy who was sent by the school for counseling. There was a burn mark on his thigh, on one of his legs. And then I called naturally the parents brought the child to my clinic. And when I asked the father, he said, no, the boy is naughty and he hits himself. He was blaming the child. And then one day the mother gave me an anonymous call and said, I'll come and see you separately. She came separately and she told me such horror stories about the father. He actually picked up a hot iron and burned the child because he couldn't manage his own anger. He was constantly hitting his wife. He was violent. He was abusive. And he had severe anger issues. And this boy in school was sent to me for counseling because what he did was he himself was a hurt child. And he took a he took a very sharp pen or a sharp pencil and he poked another child's nose and the child bled. So there were many incidents this child was doing in school. One was he was hitting people. He was once in the swimming pool. He took a pair of scissors and he cut the shorts of another child in the swimming pool. So the teacher said something is wrong with this child. So when they sent him, we found there were anger issues at home. So anger perpetuates. Parents who abuse their children must have been abused in their childhood. So how it just goes on generation after generation. We need to identify such people, parents, many of you are parents, some of you are grandparents. Anger issues really need to be taken care of. It's not a joke because you are throwing your anger on the child, which is a helpless victim, or on your spouse or a wife who may be less stronger than you. Male aggression is stronger than female aggression, at least physically. Therefore, women get verbally more harsh and they lash out verbally, though they cannot do it physically. So parenting has to be taken with more honor and respect and dignity. Parents who are abusive, parents who are angry, definitely need to take care of their anger issues and not pass it on to children. It's a crime. Very soon we will have 911 in India. In foreign countries, they have 911. A little child can pick up the call and say, hello, my father is beating me and the police is at your doorstep. Do we want that? Actually, we don't want it.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
Advocate Rashmi has a question that she has seen many women losing their temperament during the menopausal phase. So how to address that?
Okay, see, you have a body, you have a mind, and it's going to work in its own way. So there are ups and downs, there are biochemical changes taking place. I was speaking about this in another seminar. If women understand that menopause is going to cause fluctuations in the mind and body, it's going to cause hot flushes, it's going to cause anger, it's going to cause so many other changes in your body. You have to be prepared for it. You can't just disturb the environment. You cannot disturb the family and the children and throw a tantrum. Please take care of yourself. Take care of your mind, take care of your body. It's you. Don't disturb the whole household. Everything can be managed, Abha. If I want to be a peaceful, Murli ji would give us a little bit of more insight into how to calm the mind. There is something which I always talk of is emotional fitness. Give me a chance to talk about emotional fitness. Everybody needs to become a wise person eventually. They must grow up. You cannot be a baby and throw tantrums all the time.
So maybe we will have one session on emotional fitness. How to achieve emotional fitness.
What is the difference between a child and an adult? Is there some qualitative difference? You are more wise, you are more sensible, you are more peaceful, you are more in harmony. Otherwise, you're a child.
Right. Okay. Are there any negative effects on the body when we talk about assertive anger?
Kavita.
Could you repeat the question, please? Abhaji?
We talked about assertive, passive, and aggressive anger. And we clearly know that aggressive and passive anger has some negative effect on the body. Whereas in assertive anger, we feel the emotion, but we respond it. Like rather than reacting, we respond to the emotion. But does this cause any negative effect on the body?
As per my understanding and psychological awareness, when you practice assertiveness, the degree of disappointment or those things don't go to that greater extent that those adrenaline rush happens or the cortisols are triggered and things like that. So it won't affect you as much. Certainly those mood fluctuations and the fluctuations in the body happen, but they don't go to that extreme level. Like those moods will happen up and down, but you are very much able to pull yourself out. For example, when you touch the rock bottom of a sea, it is hard for you to come out. But if you're just right in the middle, you are able to get back to your senses and swim back to your boat faster. It is something like that, you know. It is easier to take charge of the situation and yourself, be it mentally or emotionally.
Okay, okay. Can you talk about little bit on positive stress?
Yes. Would you like to take up that, Rita ji?
Yeah. So actually, it's called eustress. Positive stress is called eustress, and negative stress is actually negative stress. So what happens is, if I had, like, let's take somebody like Lata Mangeshkar. She always said, before a performance, I'm very stressed. I'm anxious. I have performance anxiety. Even somebody like Sunil Gavaskar and Sachin Tendulkar also said, before any game, I'm very anxious and I have a lot of performance anxiety that I should do well. So this is eustress. When the body and the mind is gearing up to face a particular situation, there is a stressful response in your body, but it's positive. And there are studies, actually the scientists, the neurologists have done studies which say that if you are doing something happily, like stress doesn't mean that I'm sitting in my rocking chair and enjoying a relaxed life. I work hard, I play sports, I swim, I sweat it out, I win gold medals at the Olympics. Isn't that a lot of stress? But what the neurologists have found out, that when there is a happy stress, your heart beats better, your blood flow is better, there is no damage effect on your body, because that is eustress.
Okay.
It's a happy stress. And negative stress is when you have negative emotions, that's negative stress. So definitely there's positive stress and negative stress.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. So is there any chance of this happy stress shifting into anger?
No.
No.
I mean, see, emotions are fluctuating. You can be happy at one moment, and supposing there's a person, a cricketer who's trying to score 100 centuries and he's out at 99. He might just break his bat.
Right.
In anger.
Right.
So it's his expectation.
Right.
Otherwise he was happy he's reached 99, and then his expectation was to do 100. And it suddenly turns to anger because he doesn't fulfill his own expectations. So emotions can shift.
Right, right, right.
They are dynamic. It's not
so static. Ravi Shastri getting stuck at nervous 99, that was the term coined when I was in school, because somewhere on 92, 94, you know, he used to keep on playing and not completing his 100.
So he used to get anxious.
Murli ji is asking, yeah. Murli ji is asking the question, is anger based on chemical composition of brain?
Yeah, yeah. Now that is something which a psychiatrist could answer better. Everything is related to the brain and the neurotransmitters. So we see there is something called temperament in psychology. When a child is born, you will see a certain temperament of the child. So we see happy children. They go to anybody. They smile at all strangers. Then there are very nervous children. You touch them and they'll start crying. They will only want to be in the mother's lap. So we see crybabies and we see happy babies. Your question is very valid, because this is a temperament which is part of your mental makeup, which is inherited. So when we have anxious mothers, we could have anxious children. We have anxious, angry fathers, and we have angry sons. It's passed on. We are definitely a biochemical unit, no doubt about it.
Okay. Asha ji is asking, wait a minute. Can a person be blamed, or can a person blame his anger on the way his brain is wired?
Ultimately, no.
A person can blame his anger on the way his brain is. My brain is, so I can't help it,
No, let me put it in a different perspective. If there is a person with a serious mental disorder like schizophrenia, schizophrenics can become very violent and it is not in their control. We know that. So they have to be restrained, they have to be tied up, they have to be drugged, they have to be given medicines and injections to control them. So, but normally, in a normal human being who has no mental disorder, but has an angry disposition, he cannot put the blame on anybody else until you want to declare yourself as mentally unfit.
Right. Kritika is asking, as a student, we are sometimes busy 24 hours a day, which lead to breakdown at times. And then there are phases where recognizing emotions is difficult. So how to handle such situation?
Rest. You must rest, my dear. Sleep, rest, eat well, exercise, throw out the toxins, even a little bit of exercise. So how can you work 24 hours and be happy? You need rest. You need food. Your physiological needs will overtake you. There's no remedy for that but to balance it out.
There is one more question above regarding a teenager. May I answer that?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Kids and teenage are getting angry and anxious due to uncertainty of results and dates in this COVID. Kindly guide how to handle as a parent. Again, sometimes parenting is a very tricky thing wherein some people over pamper their children and they buffer them. So I've had a session on increasing the frustration tolerance of children. Like frustration tolerance, as in we of late, most of the modalities, I have a teenager as well. My child is 16. And usually we try to buffer them that, oh, this should not happen to my child. But the reality is this is happening. And in their times, it is happening to them. So they better be equipped because these kind of things may come up in the future. So instead of buffering them or trying to control again the thing that you can't control, you can teach them that uncertainty is a part of life. Yeah, I can understand you getting frustrated, but you can manage it. We all are in this together. So rather than a helicopter way of parenting is that nothing should touch my child and they should not face certain emotions is a very unhealthy way, and you're not exposing your child to enough frustration. It is okay to feel frustrated. It is okay to feel bored. That's when they become creative. Once they are getting bored, they will have different ways to manage their uncertainty and their mind because they are very adaptable, provided we let them be. So this is my suggestion, that let their frustration tolerance increase and don't buffer them.
Right. I think we will take only 2 questions now. I will request Rotarian Renu to unmute and ask her question.
I've asked that smile, like from the topic of smile which has come up, there are people where the smile is often disguised. But it becomes very hard when with a smile, somebody questions your value system or your belief. So how to tackle such a particular situation? And generally when your values is being questioned, it is bound that we lose our temper. So in that particular situation, how to tackle that situation?
Meeta, should I go ahead or you'll answer?
Yes, you may, please.
So, see, what I've realized in my life when I get into discussions with people, some of them who smile and question your value systems are doing it to provoke you. Now, sometimes you might think that he's wanting a genuine discussion. on what is this value, what is this belief, what is this principle, is it good, is it bad, should we continue, should we drop it? And I found that people are not rational, people are not logical. And even if you start a logical discussion, it will end in the middle somewhere and end very soon, because some emotion will come up, an ego will come up, and you will clash. So at this point of time in my age, I do not get into discussions about values and belief systems. I say, this is what I believe. You are free to believe what you want.
Can I add something to it?
Please.
Even to understand, when you get to know that the person is coming from an open mindset, you can still enter that person's head and sort of have a conversation. But when you know that the person is coming from a closed mindset, for example, they don't want to be open to discussing or something, which is like, they disguise it in the form of smile. You may even, have a passive reaction to it, because when you can understand that they are not open to something like this. So open-minded person and a closed-minded person itself can be, a very helpful indication, I feel.
But Kavita, I believe an open-minded person also closes down at some point.
Okay.
I'm yet to see somebody who's really, really open-minded to the limit.
Okay.
I've not seen.
Yeah, certainly I agree that there must be some threshold where they shut down, but like a simple discussion wherein they don't take it personally.
They will take it personally and they will get emotional and they will start shouting. And the discussion will shut down.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, especially I guess when it comes to politics and sports, which party I support and politics, which game or which team I like.
Faith, all this becomes highly controversial.
Murliji, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
This particular example, I would say every time you go for a performance assessment with your boss, then you get to see the smile and the close-endedness faced it in our careers. Anyway, I just wanted to ask. It is probably a little different to this topic. Mind controls the body, right? And where is the mind located? Neuroscientists have proved, it doesn't exist in the brain. I mean, that's what I have read about.
No.
Is there any more clarity that someone can give?
I'm sure very soon they will go beyond the brain and come to the point of consciousness. The consciousness theory is coming up in some way. It will come up.
Absolutely.
It is beyond the brain.
It's beyond the brain.
It's beyond the brain.
Because the whole frustration stems up from a lot of factors, which sometimes is uncontrollable. Like, as you said, hereditary, it flows down from, the parents and grandparents, situations. So there are some people who are made cool, so they don't have these issues. They are able to absorb. They are very different. And there are some people who are genuinely nice people, but then on very small things, they just flare up and then they get angry. Not because they are bad people, So the whole aspect of it, when you say you want to control, then you should know your mind more, how it behaves, so that you can take necessary steps. Of course, what Kavita ji has today told, practically, to identify issues and things like that is very practical. But sometimes it's just beyond you.
See, it becomes beyond you when there are deep-rooted unconscious issues which you're not aware of. And self-awareness and introspection is the only way.
Yeah, that's when even we ask to, seek help, wherein the other person can see you from a third person's viewpoint, which you are not able to look into it. So that's when the therapist is not actually, therapist is like a third person, or they view you from a bird's eye viewpoint, wherein so they can maybe help you pinpoint or understand yourself better. So that is what even life coaching does.
Self-awareness is the key. Self-awareness. See, I must tell you that however much we try, there are unconscious motivations which some of us are not able to tap. And psychoanalysis is a method which taps into it, because there are a lot of modern therapies in psychology which don't want to tap the unconscious. Like the cognitive theories, RET, CBT, REBT, they all say live in the present, talk about the present, let's forget the past.
Right.
It is psychoanalysis who says your past determines your present. Unless you don't know what happened in your childhood and unless you don't understand your parents and your nurturing, you will not be able to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very time consuming. It takes a lifetime. And even after a lifetime, people may not know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they may know just 20% of themselves. But I think if you know 20% of yourself, you can be a good human being.
Yes, yes, of course.
And I think
Rita ji, I would like to ask you, what do you believe in? Living in the moment, or no? What do you believe in? Living in the moment, or like they say that you have to go to the past so that you can have a better present?
See, when your behavior becomes bad, your own behavior becomes bad, you must know where it is coming from. That's when you reflect and introspect and try to find out what is bothering me and what is bugging me. I live my life in the moment, in the present, but I have to dig up my past to be aware of it. So there are children who have been abused, sexually abused. There are girls who are now reading up in the net about sexual abuse and coming back to me saying, we didn't know this, but I was abused, and how it has impacted me. I'm reading the book and I'm understanding. So they are going into their past and wanting to understand, and they want to sort it out as to how should I deal with my present, because it fills them with anger, fills them with a lot of guilt and rejection of men. You see, your past can impact your entire personality. There is one gentleman called Gabor Mate, Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a psychiatrist, he's a neurologist, and he's writing a lot of very good books which are becoming very popular. And some of these guys, like Gabor Mate, they are survivors of the Jew Holocaust, Hitler's Holocaust. And they are the ones who have gone through hell. And they are survivors. You should read their theories of how they have survived through hell, because that is the real struggle of the human spirit. We are very fortunate. We live in very protective, good homes, come from good backgrounds. We are not scarred. Still, we have little bad behavior here and there. But in psychology, we see so much of scarring, so much of damage, so much of abnormality. It's shocking. It's shocking what people go through. And that is when we feel, as a psychologist also, I feel angry. I feel angry about the abnormality of human. Look at Afghanistan. There is a bunch of Rotarian women who are trying to reach out to Afghan women. They are trying to reach out to Afghan women. And I'm wondering what is going to be the outcome, but we have to keep trying.
Yes, we will keep trying. I think with that, we come to an end of the question answer session.
Yeah.
Over to you, Anjali ji.
Thank you, Rita ma'am and Kavita ma'am. We had a wonderful, and Abha, we have a wonderful, informative and an interactive session. A lot of things have come out of it, and a lot of introspection we have to do, and how effectively we can manage anger, and from response to reaction, how assertive anger can help us. So many things have been discussed, and I really, it was very interesting for me also, because certain things now I can handle. I'm facing some issues, I can handle it that way. Not a major this thing, but how to control the anger when somebody provokes you, like that was my this thing. Anyway, for the formal vote of thanks, I request Rotarian Fatima Bori, Rotary Club of Nasik Cosmopolitan, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Okay. Thank you for this opportunity, ma'am. So on behalf of our Rotary Cosmopolitan and Rotary Grape City, I thank from the bottom of my heart to our respective chief guest, Mrs. Asha Venugopal, who had spent her busiest time gracing this webinar. I heartfelt thanks to Dr. Abha Pimprikar and Dr. Pratiksha Mai for taking such tremendous efforts and arranging such a wonderful session on assertive anger. I wholeheartedly thank to our dynamic speakers, Mrs. Rita Agarwal and Mrs. Kavita Saraf, for giving their precious time and acknowledging us on anger management. We had the opportunity to hear all the great personalities, their thoughts, and this is definitely going to encourage us in our near future. This wonderful session has enlightened our minds and have shown us the new way of handling any situation and simple techniques to overcome the anger and stress. Once again, I thanks to all the dignitaries as well for adoring this webinar and sharing their opinions. Thank you so much.